Welcome back to Ben's Top 10. And when I was a kid, we weren't afraid of made-up diseases. Well, it's time for another edition of my Top 10 favorite Twilight Zone episodes. This time it's season... Wait a minute. I said I was skipping season 4, and I haven't even started season 5. Oh crap! I don't have a video prepared for this week! The world is ending, folks! Lock yourselves in the tool shed! Stay away from the windows! Don't drink the water on the boat rides at the carnival! Ah! Wait a minute. Twilight Zone isn't the only show I like. I've got several shows to choose from to make top 10 favorite episode list about. So, what's the lucky show this week? Well, I know we're all anxiously waiting for season 3, so how about I do some top 10 videos on My Little Pony Friendship is Magic? You know what? Heck with a top 10. That's not good enough for this show. How about a top 11? Hey, I can only rip up the Nostalgic Critic once a month. That's right, I'm doing a top 12 favorite episodes of Ponies for season 1. Well, get ready to taste the Sonic Rainbow. Here's my top 12 favorite Ponies episodes of season 1. Number 12, Over a Barrel. The main 6 are delivering a tree named Bloomberg to a little town in the west called Appaloosa. However, a herd of buffalo plant nap the tree, and the ponies discover the buffalo and the citizens of Appaloosa, Appaloosa, are in the middle of a feud, and it's up to the ponies to try to settle the differences between the two groups. This episode has a plot that has been done to death. Two different groups are having problems with each other that have to be fixed. However, that's not a fault in this episode. I understand that there's only a certain number of plots you can choose from, but you have to use the characters in a show to make it stand out, and that's what this show is best at. All the characters act exactly how we would expect them to act in this situation. I never would have expected Pinkie to dress up in an old western prostitute's outfit, but that's Pinkie for you. Yeah, that's right, Pinkie's wearing a prostitute's outfit. Gotta love this girls show, right? Add the fact that this episode started the meme that Fluttershy's a tree, and you got one of my favorite episodes of season 1. Number 11, A Bird and the Hoof. When Princess Celestia visits Ponyville, she brings her pet phoenix, Philomena, with her. Fluttershy sees the poor thing is sick, and she bird naps it to try to nurse it back to health. I think this episode is really misunderstood. A lot of fans that I talk to keep forgetting this episode exists. Personally, I can't get it out of my head. It's a Fluttershy episode. You would think that alone would give it a reason to be on any Brony's top episode list. Well, since Fluttershy is my second favorite of the main 6, it makes sense that this would be on my list. Anyway, what I love about this episode is that it's one of the most cartoony this show has done. Philomena kind of looks like a bird that you would see in a Tex Avery cartoon, and I just love the sound effect you hear when her feathers fly out. I also love how Fluttershy tries everything to fix Philomena up, but nothing works. Finally, I love the Benny Hill-esque chase sequence, not to mention the little reference to A Hard Day's Night. This is one underrated episode that is one of my favorites of this season. And remember, birdseed always works. Fluttershy said so. Number 10, Call of the Cutie. In this one, Applebloom tries very hard to earn her cutie mark before Diamond Tiara's cute Senora. This is the first episode I ever saw of this show, so it holds a special place in my heart. And I couldn't leave it off this list, because it made me fall in love with this show in the first place. I was drawn to Applebloom's character, how she was going to try very hard to get her cutie mark, and she wasn't going to give up until she got it. Plus, she's too darn adorable that I just couldn't hate her. Also, this was the episode that made me hate Diamond Tiara. But, that's a good thing. She's an antagonist, so I'm supposed to hate her. This show is doing its job well. Finally, the nail in the horseshoe that made me love this episode was Pinkie Pie's Cupcake song. When I was watching this episode at 7 o'clock in the morning in my cousin's basement after only getting 5 hours of sleep, that song blew my mind. It only lasted for 30 seconds, but it instantly attached me to Pinkie Pie's character, and I wanted to see more of her. And more episodes of this show, period. So, Call of the Cutie might be one of the show's more boring episodes, but it made me fall in love with this show in the first place, so I owe a lot to it. Number 9. Green Isn't Your Color. When a photographer pony named Photo Finish comes to Ponyville, she falls in love with Fluttershy. Not literally, and makes her a model. Rarity, who always wanted to be a model, gets jealous of Fluttershy's fame, and Twilight gets in the middle of this conflict as she knows the secrets that Fluttershy and Rarity are keeping from each other. And Pinkie Pie is pulling a droopy and shouting, "Forever!" over and over again. This is yet another episode that's overlooked, but I don't see any flaws in it. In fact, I love it. I love how there's a lot of things going on in the plot. I love how a shy character like Fluttershy is forced into doing something that puts her in the center of attention, while Rarity, a character who loves being the center of attention, is shoved aside. It's great characterization on how these characters react to situations that are complete opposites of their personalities. Also, we find out that Rarity considers Fluttershy her best friend. Really? Well, looks like I know who I'm going to put together in my pony toy collection. I really need to stop writing aspects of my personal life in my scripts. Plus, Pinkie is hilarious as always, and Fluttershy has some comedic moments of her own. I'm sure no brony's ever going to forget her attempt to scream. So, Green Isn't Your Color is another episode that I love from this season, and teaches us to always check our apples for Pinkie Pie. Number 8. Griffin the Brushoff. Pinkie Pie and Rainbow Dash become friends after they spend a lot of their time pranking other ponies together. However, when Rainbow's old friend Gilda visits her, Pinkie feels that she's being shoved out of Rainbow's life. This episode really deals with a subject that I'm sure all of us go through once in our lives, trying to bounce between friends, both old and new. It touches on how we really like to stay attached to our old friends, but we don't know how they'll react to our new friends. This is something I went through. I had a few friends for a while, but then I joined musicals and made a bunch of new friends, and I had to shove my old friends aside because they didn't treat me as well as my new friends did. This episode is exactly like that. It teaches a good lesson that you and only you can pick your friends. If you like some more than others, then go ahead and hang out with them more. Plus, what also makes this episode great is Gilda's a witch. Make Fluttershy cry, "Screw you!" Once again, this show is doing its job well. I cheer when Rainbow told her off at the end. Also, it's a Pinkie Pie episode. Pinkie is on her A game in this episode. She pulls a droopy again, and this time Rainbow's the victim, and she's really random and chaotic. Add all these elements together, and you have one of my favorite episodes from Season 1. Number 7. A Dog and Pony Show. When Rarity goes hunting for gems with Spike, she gets pony-napped. Man, this show loves dealing with plots that have to do with abduction. Anyway, she gets pony-napped by these monsters called the Diamond Dogs. I get it! And it's up to Spike and the rest of the ponies to save her. That is, before Rarity saves herself. I'll admit, I didn't like Rarity that much when I first got into this show. I felt that she represented the aspect that this show gets stereotyped for. She's all about fashion, she's girly, and she's not as in-your-face as the other characters. That was what I thought about her. Before I saw this episode, Rarity shines all out in this one. She's a damsel in distress that doesn't cry for a prince in shining armor. No, she makes those dogs her witches. Yeah, you show them, Rarity. How are you going to punish these dogs for pony-napping you? Whining and crying and insulting their ways of living. Still, she's awesome. Plus, I love how heroic Spike gets when Rarity's kidnapped. I love the scene where Spike imagined himself all buff and beating the dogs up. Eat your heart out, Governor Arnold. You can tell that Spike and Rarity's relationship is going somewhere. But, sorry Spike, Rarity has another love. Kiss me, darling. Okay. This is normal, you know. Anyway, A Dog and Pony Show is one episode that leaves me with one moral. Don't truck with Rarity. Number 6. Dragon Shy. When a dragon falls asleep in a cave near Ponyville, his smoke is spreading all over the town, so it's up to the ponies to send that dragon packing. But dragon foe Fluttershy is forced to come along. Okay, this is the episode that made me fall in love with Fluttershy. Before this, I thought she was adorable and all, but I didn't like her much as a character. This episode changed all that for me. This really happens a lot in this show, doesn't it? Anyway, this episode showcased Fluttershy well. I just love laughing at how shy she is. She's literally afraid of her own shadow. Literally. Plus, I love that how no matter how slow she was in this episode, her friends remained patient with her. Well, not all of them. Plus, I love the ending. After a whole 20 minutes of Fluttershy being, well, shy, she flies right up to that dragon and makes it her witch. She gets right in his face and tells him off. I was both laughing and cheering at this when I first saw this episode, and I still laugh and cheer every time I watch it. Dragonshy is one episode that taught us, don't truck with Fluttershy. Seriously. That goes double for you, Gilda. Number 5, the Cutie Mark Chronicles. After another failed attempt to get their cutie marks, the Crusaders decide to get some advice from the main 6 on how they got their cutie marks, and we learn a lot of interesting things. When it comes to TV shows, I'm a sucker for episodes that deal with giving characters backstories, and this one goes all out by giving us the backstories of our favorite ponies. We learn so much about them, and it answers all the questions that we would have had before this episode. However, my favorite part of this episode is we get to see the main 6 as little fillies. Oh, look at she's so cute. Look at the puffy mane on her. Oh, it's so adorable. Oh, we should say, oh, wait, look at her. Oh, what, yeah. Oh, she's so cute. Oh, what, oh, what. Oh, I just want a pinch of chubby cheeks. Oh, what. It's, oh, yeah, it's so, yeah. I think that this video is starting to go to the girly side. We need to man this video up. Cue Bikini Girl montage! Anyway, the Cutie Mark Chronicles writes the book on how to do characters' backstories well. Number 4, Apple Buck Season. It's the time of year for the apple family to harvest all the apples off the tree. However, Big Macintosh gets hurt, so Applejack has to do it all herself, which leads her to overwork herself. Hilarity ensues from here, and it only gets more comedic as she tries to help the other ponies with other tests. This episode, oh my gosh, I almost died laughing when I first saw this episode. Granted, I was used to episodes like Call the Cutie and Fall Weather Friends before this, and I thought this show was only moderately funny. However, when I saw this episode, it made me see this show is hilarious. The amount of jokes that are in this episode are astronomical, from Applejack acting tired, to Applejack falling to the ground several times, to Applejack putting the wrong ingredients in the muffins. It's comedic gold. This is also the episode that made me see Applejack as more than just Apple Bloom's big sister. It made me see her as a determined hard worker that has a no-excuse approach to getting work done. Oh, Applejack, if only there were animators out there that shared your love of working hard. Anyway, Applebuck Season is one episode that shows how funny this show can be. Number 3, Party of One. Pinkie throws a birthday party for Gummy and wants to throw an after party for him the next day, but when she tries to invite her friends, they say they're busy. Pinkie then does her best to find out what's going on and why she's not involved. This episode showed us a side of Pinkie that we didn't see until this point, and considering how all over the place she is, that's saying something. It's so interesting seeing Pinkie not acting like her normal self. It's kind of sad at the same time though. When she goes crazy at the end, I'm sorry, more crazy at the end, I'm laughing out loud, but I'm also crying inside to see my favorite character acting the way she does. Man, Pinkie is a great psycho. She's kind of like a slasher movie villain. Hey, maybe somebody should write a fanfic about that. On second thought, never mind. Plus, I love the ending where her friends were just planning a party for her Pinkie because it's her birthday. Yeah, that's the only nitpick I have for this episode. Pinkie is able to remember all of her friends' birthdays, but she can't remember her own? Seems legit. Anyway, despite that one confusing characterization fault, this is one well put together episode that showed us that this show just gets better with each episode. Number 2, Bridal Gossip. When a zebra named Zakora stops into Ponyville, the ponies are afraid that she's evil. So, when the ponies try to confront her, they wake up the next day with weird curses and they feel that Zakora is to blame for them. Hilarity ensues from there. Yeah, the best way I could describe this episode is like this. I mean, holy crap, this episode is the definition of hilarious. Okay, remember how I said that Applebuck season was the episode that made me see how funny this show could be? Well, this episode topped my expectations on how funny this show could be. There is nothing short of humor from here. From Twilight's horn flopping around, please don't laugh at that, you immature people, to Applejack being tiny, to Rainbow crashing all over the place, to Pinkie's tongue hanging out of her mouth, to Rarity's hair being all messed up, and finally to Fluttershy sounding like Barry White? I mean, holy crap, I did not see that gag coming. I fell out of my bed laughing the first time Fluttershy spoke in that voice. Since then, it only gets funnier. I can't help but giggling when Twilight starts asking Fluttershy what's wrong with her. Add on the fact that Zakora, one of my favorite secondary characters in this show, is introduced in this episode, and you have one laugh riot of an episode. And my number one favorite episode of Pony Season 1 is Feeling Pinkie Keen. When Twilight sees that Pinkie is able to predict certain events by specific feelings Pinkie gets, she sets out to prove how this is possible, and gets abused along the way. Oh my gosh. When I first saw this episode, it blew my mind out. For starters, it was a Pinkie-centered episode, so I knew I was going to love it. Well, this episode took my expectations, grabbed them by the cojones, jacked them up on sugar, and bounced them all over the place like a bouncy ball. In other words, this episode is epic. But not only epic, but epic in two ways. First, it's epically funny. Pinkie's Pinkie senses lead to some of the most well-timed cartoony gags I've ever seen, and they just keep coming. Twilight gets smashed by opening doors, she falls into a cellar, she gets stung by bees, and the coup de grace. A flower pot, an anvil, a cart full of hay, and a piano all fall on top of her, in that order. Heck to the yeah! This is what I call cartoon slapstick. That moment alone owes more to the Looney Tunes than the Looney Tunes show does. No, I'm never going to get over that Hell on Earth show. Anyway, just when you think you've seen it all, this episode throws a curveball and a Hydra appears that chases after the girls, making this episode epic in an adventure kind of way. I love this episode. I love it, love it, love it, love it. With this episode, it made me fully appreciate this show. It proved to me that this show wasn't no ordinary animated series. No, this show is a very definition of a cartoon, and for that, I deeply love it. Of course, some people don't like this episode because they think it's addressing the theme of science versus religion. Oh, come on! Why do people try to say things mean something when they're not trying to mean something? I hate it when people do that. This does not predict a race war. It does not! All joking aside, it's a stinking cartoon. Sit back and enjoy the slapstick. The violent, juicy slapstick. Bottom line, this is my favorite episode of Season 1 of Ponies. It was the episode that took what I expect to see in a cartoon and doubled it. So, there are my top 12 favorite episodes of the first season of Ponies. With this season, this show gave birth to a new kind of fan base. The Bronies. It made us love a show about little ponies and made us want more out of this show. Did it deliver in the second season? Well, I guess you're going to have to wait to see my favorite episodes of Season 2 video. Anyway, I'm Ben, and I'm signing out. I'm going to go write a Rarity and Fluttershy fanfiction. Not really, though, so don't go looking for it.